Hello everybody, welcome to Wild Boy Movies, the place to talk movies, and it is Wednesday, meaning that we have 2 new episodes for Hazbin Hotel Season 2. And just like last week, I'm gonna be going ahead and breaking down these 2 new episodes that we got, as well as talking about the big reveals that they went ahead and dropped, and how it could impact these next 4 episodes. But be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below your thoughts on these 2 new episodes, as well as some theories and speculation on what could be going down in these remaining episodes. And as of this point forward, spoilers ahead for episodes 3 and 4 of Hazbin Hotel Season 2. You've been warned. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so this episode starts off immediately where the first episode of Season 2 left off, with Charlie learning that Penchas is in heaven and that redemption is possible, to where Charlie goes ahead and decides to go ahead and invite the V's over to have an exclusive report that redemption is possible, in hopes to bring more people to the hotel. Even though Vox was just slandering some propaganda onto Charlie, she still decides to invite Vox down to the hotel to run this exclusive interview, and Charlie is just like in like this distress moment because she just found out that redemption is possible, yet she doesn't have some actual proof to show that it is possible, yet she still invites the V's down to the Hazbin Hotel to reveal them this brand new information that she has no concrete evidence for. Even though she did get told this information from Emily, she does not have any proof to back up that claim, which is just hurting the hotel's reputation in the long run. While at the same time, Cherry Bomb pays a visit to Baxter, where Baxter reveals to Cherry that him and Sir Penchas actually work together, but all that changed whenever they brought their inventions to Zestial, and Baxter's invention won, and which it caused some tension between Baxter and Penchas, to where Baxter was about to put down the Egg Boys, to where Penchas eventually left. Now, it was fascinating that we got Penchas' backstory when he was alive in the previous episode, but it's great that we got more of that backstory here with the revelation that both Penchas and Baxter work together, which eventually led to the Cherry Snake duet song that we've been teased for when the soundtrack was revealed. And yeah, this was a pretty good song. While it's not my favorite song of this season so far, it's still a pretty good one. And even here, we got some flashbacks to when Penchas and Cherry were fighting each other, and to see how their rivalry changed over time was just great to see. And yeah, this song as well was also pretty good to listen to. While back at the hotel, Charlie is trying to figure out how redemption works, which eventually leads her to the conclusion that someone would have to sacrifice themselves in order to be redeemed. That's what leads us to this like train sequence that we saw in the trailers, where Husk is about to get run over by a train. Charlie decides, no, we're not going to do this, but Vox cut the brakes, which eventually leads to Angel trying to stop the train before Vaggie goes ahead and saves them. And it is there where Charlie realizes that in order for one to be redeemed, that person would have to reconcile a past sin, where Vox went ahead and revealed to Charlie that Angel Dust, when he was alive, murdered his own father. Like, it's crazy to think that we're getting these backstories to these characters, and to know that Angel Dust went ahead and murdered his own father. I'm curious on why Angel went ahead and did that, but Vox goes ahead and leaves the hotel with saying, trust us with your public image. By the way, I just want to point out some of these facial expressions that Vox and Velvet were making throughout the episode. Like, they were just straight up hilarious, not even lying. And it was even more funny that Vox went ahead and teleported away from the hotel, but Velvet had to take the elevator. Also, it seems like this episode is leaning heavily into the Husker Dust ship that fans have been shipping with these characters, so it seems like that they might actually go ahead and canonize it. But all this really did with the hotel is just put their reputation down very harder, with Fox having this spin on the hotel, causing a lot of people to ditch the hotel. and Vox having more propaganda to use against Charlie. I'm just curious on how all of this propaganda is going to be used in his uprising against Heaven, which I do think that we will be seeing the start of that uprising in next week's episodes. But I'm also very curious on how Angel Dust would be able to reconcile his sins of murder, especially if he wants to reunite with his sister, Molly. But that ain't even the most exciting backstory revealed in this week's episodes. Alright, so I'm gonna start things off with the side of Charlie and Nifty in this episode because Charlie does decide to go on 666 News with Katie Killjoy to set the record straight, and unfortunately, it just does not go the way that Charlie hoped to. It just ended up making her look a bit worse. But what did end up happening in this new segment was that Nifty song that we were told that we would be getting before this season would drop. Little did we know, it would be an anime-esque song. Like, I was straight up not expecting that at all, let alone the anime-esque imagery that we would get during this musical number. And I absolutely love it. Like, it was completely unexpected, but awesome to see at the same time. And unironically, this makes this song, Clean It Up, one of my favorite songs of season 2 thus far, up there with Once We Get Up There and Gravity. But alright, let's go ahead and now talk about Alistair, my favorite character of the series, and the part that I was very surprised by. So, we essentially start off Alistair's story with him quitting the hotel and him heading down over to Cannibal Town to pay a visit to Rosie's Emporium, which we did get to see in the trailer. And this is where we are given the backstory for Alistair that we were told that we would get in the second season, where we do get to see Alistair's human design, him starting up his own radio show, where we did get a little cameo from Minzy when she was alive. But something sinister was going on with Alistair to where he murdered a bunch of people, where he did this satanic ritual to where he would make a deal that would allow him to kill off all these overlords once he died, to where it was revealed that he made the deal with Rosie. Like, this is a twist that none of us saw coming. We all thought that Alistair's deal was with Lilith and that we would get something with that, but no. Alistair's deal was with Rosie the whole time. I was already on a high level of excitement, not only from this Angel Dust backstory that we got from the previous episode, but even before hitting play on these 2 new episodes, we got the final trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, where we got some more looks at those withered animatronics, which I got very excited for. It's crazy that we got that reveal for Alistair's backstory and those withered animatronic looks all on the same day. Oh, and Alistair was accidentally mistaken for a deer and shot dead, hence explaining why he has that deer look in his demon form. And it seems like Alistair has had enough with that deal to where he decides to go ahead and not only fight Vox, but also the entire V's, because Valentino and Velvet do show up, and we do get to see Velvet pulling off her best Doctor Strange impression. But eventually both Nifty and Husker do arrive to the battle, but things come to a standstill when Alistair decides to make a deal with Vox that he will essentially be a prisoner to the V's if they leave Charlie Morningstar in the Hazbin Hotel alone, to where surprisingly, they shake on it, and now Alistair is captured by the V's. Like, this is definitely gonna have some major ramifications for these remaining episodes that we have for the next 2 weeks. But the bickering does continue on, where we get another flashback to where Alistair and Vox were actually friendly to one another, to where Vox eventually offered Alistair a spot for his new team, which is essentially the early start of the V's and Vox Tech Company, to where Alistair rejects that deal and does some mean stuff to Vox, and that definitely puts an idea towards their feud that we did get to see in season 1, where during Stayed Gone, Alistair mentioned that Vox offered him a spot for the V's and he said no. Now we actually got to see that on screen. And that's essentially where things end off for this episode. Alistair has been captured by the V's, and seemingly like that the V's now have an upper hand when it comes for their upcoming uprising that I do think that we'll start to see next week. But as far as my opinion on these two episodes, they continue to build up my excitement for these next few episodes that we are going to be getting, as well as my overall enjoyment for this second season. I really like seeing more of Vox and the V's. That anime style musical number really caught me off guard, but I really liked it. It not only delivered on some amazing plot twists that I did not see coming at all, but it also delivered on some absolutely funny moments, particularly in episode 3 with those like faces that I mentioned earlier on when I talked about that episode. And things are definitely going to be kicked into high gear with these next few episodes, and I can't wait to see if they have any more surprising twists and reveals that they have up in store. And the reveals that we got were also very exciting, along with some great musical numbers and being pretty entertaining, that it makes season 2, in my opinion so far, really good and among the best TV that we got this year. But that was my thoughts and breakdown of the 2 new episodes for Hazbin Hotel Season 2. Be sure to stay tuned next week for whenever I go ahead and talk about episodes 5 and 6. But until then, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below your thoughts on these 2 new episodes as well as your views and speculation for these remaining episodes. But until then, have a great day.